And what have we learned so far? By breaking down the ground into 16 blocks, it becomes easier to explain how a formation works. While attacking using a 4-4-2 formation, the blocks turn into specific zones in the attacking and defensive half. And when defending, the blocks are to be squeezed tight, so much so that the blocks, or better yet, the zones, will fit into half the length of the ground. Sometimes, when pressing high up the opposition's half to try to win the ball back, the zones are squeezed as well. I must mention here that applying a defensive strategy, especially this one, which has a constant ebb and flow, requires a bucket loads of fitness and stamina, which is physically possible only after rigorous training. The other extremely important facet of zonal defensive movement is the communication between the players. Without these qualities, defensive zonal play becomes a waste of time. When attacking phenomena, if the players drop off on their positioning, it's not that important, mainly due to two factors. The first one is that the ball, if it is lost, the opposition still has to travel some distance to start the attack. And the second one is that if the individual talents and abilities of some players are very good, they can still get the team in a strong position without having strong attacking tactical positioning. Now, back to zonal defensive play using a 4-4-2 system. One must understand that many of the rules set for this system can be applied in every other formation. That is why it's best to understand the ins and outs of the formation before moving on to the others. In the 4-4-2 formation, a very important part of the zonal defensive play is the understanding of the offside law. Without a proper comprehension of the offside law, it's silly to move on from here. Assuming that you are familiar with the offside rule, let's move on. The two central defenders will always be playing one up and one down, depending on their current status. But if one of the central defenders is technically better in terms of communication, awareness, technical ability, and catching offside, then it would be wiser to ensure that this player will always be playing last man. The term last man in football terms is simply the defender that is closest to his or her own goal line, barring the goalkeeper. A central defender is almost always a designated last man. Before we end this part, let's go through the duties and responsibilities, or T&R, of each and every player in the 4-4-2 formation. Actually, that will take too long. So we'll go through the goalkeeper and then the defensive line, and then leave the remaining for the next episode. Oh, but I am so sorry. I've forgotten to add something that is imperative to this talk about zonal defensive play, and that's why we'll begin the talk about T&R of each position in the next episode. We will finish this episode with the resistance band concept introduced at KFANDRA. The concept makes the entire movement between players in any formation extremely simple to comprehend. A resistance band is an elastic band used for strength training. The band can stretch up to a certain limit, and when the pressure on the band is loosened, the band will regain its original shape. Yes, it will retain it. It will retain it very tightly. I want you to imagine the outfield players of a red team strung out in a 4-4-2 formation. The blue opposition has just gained position in their own half and begins an attack. The red team's tactics are to defend their goal in their own half using the compact defensive system. Now, I want you to imagine that each player has a resistance band of 2 or 3. Let's give them blue, red, white, and yellow. Give them four resistance bands. Let's give them the colors blue, red, white, and yellow. The goalkeeper also has a band. The goalkeeper's resistance band is way more flexible than the other players, so we'll leave the goalkeeper out of the picture for the moment. Let's start with the right back. The blue elastic band is hooked onto the waist of the right back and attached to the waist of the central defender playing closest to him, the right central defender. The red elastic band of the right back is attached to the player standing in front of the right back, which is the right midfielder. The right back does not need the extra yellow and white band. We'll do the same for the left back. the right midfielder and left midfielder, meanwhile, are already attached to the right back and left back respectively. Let's attach the blue band to the central midfielder on their side. Neither do these two need the extra two bands. Let's go to the two central defenders now. We'll talk about the right central defender, and it's a mirror effect for the left central defender. The right central defender is already connected to the right back with a blue band. Now we'll connect the right central defender to the left central defender with the red band, and to the player standing directly in front, which is the right central midfielder, with the yellow band. Hence, you can see that the central defenders use of 3 of the 4 bands, but in actual fact, they do use a 4th along with the right back and left back, but that will be explained at the end. Now, to the two central midfielders. The two central midfielders use all 4 bands. We'll talk about the right central midfielder, and the mirror effect will be applied to the left central midfielder. The right central midfielder is already connected to the right midfielder and to the right central defender as mentioned earlier. We have to connect the right central midfielder to the left central midfielder and the right striker or right centre forward. Suddenly you can see that the central midfielders are using all 4 bands. This is why they are called link men, or to not be sexist, link women, or better yet, link persons. We will stick actually to link men, as the word is supposed to include all sexes. We won't make things confusing. They are basically linked on all 4 sides. The striker or centre forwards links are a little more flexible and not so tight, and are linked to the central midfielders and each other. Thus, if one player anywhere on the pitch moves in a certain direction, the linked player has to move too, and so on. The linked player doesn't move along a fixed line like a robot with a preset code. What with a robot with a preset code would do, the linked player will not only keep the passing avenues compact automatically because of the resistance band, but the linked player can move within the radius to block other passing channels or congest the area to make it difficult for the opponents to do anything constructive. And this is very similar to the link between the defenders and the goalkeeper, where the goalkeeper with his communication is constantly pulling and letting go of the resistance bands with the defenders. Very sorry to say very too many times, but this is exciting, isn't it? Anyway, that is all for now. As mentioned before, duties and responsibilities in the next episode, which is basically another way of saying rational occupation of space and block play as basic concepts. A person outside of KFANDRA has commented and asked for a number of things. KFANDRA hopes these videos, amongst other KFANDRA videos, are to his liking. Salagahle.